Hi, everyone, and welcome to this CPE webcast, How AI is Solving Source Document Gathering. This 50-minute CPE session is brought to you by CPAPracticeAdvisor.com and SafeSend. SafeSend makes several technology solutions for tax and accounting pros, including its flagship SafeSend Returns, which for many years has won CPA Practice Advisor's Innovation Awards and has redefined the way accounting firms digitally assemble, securely deliver, and quickly capture e-commerce or e-signatures from clients for complicated tax return packages. SafeSend also offers additional tools like TickTie Calculate, an Adobe Acrobat plugin for accounting professionals, and SafeSend Exchange, a secure bidirectional file exchange system. I'm Isaac O'Bannon, Managing Editor of CPA Practice Advisor, and I'll be your moderator today. I've worked with technology, CPAs, and tax professionals for 25 years. CPA Practice Advisor was founded in 1991 and provides digital, print, video, podcasts, and other resources. Before we get started, let me explain how you will earn CPE credit on this webcast. The webcast is 50 minutes long and qualifies for 1 credit of CPE. And if you want that credit, you must stay with us for the entire 50 minutes. During the webcast, there will be 4 polling questions. In each poll, you need to record an answer. This is our verification that you are still watching the webcast, and it's required for the CPE. After the event, there will be a post-event optional survey evaluation form, and your CPE certificate will be emailed to the address that you used to register for this event. During the webcast, you can ask questions in the field on your screen, and our speakers will try to get to as many questions as possible during the presentation. If there are some questions that are not answered during the broadcast, they will be followed up on by email afterwards. The learning objectives today are to list the common points of frustration for firms and clients, to recognize new automation advances and AI innovation that's saving firms time, to identify automation solutions that were built specifically for tax and accounting, and to evaluate how to develop a client-centric approach for tax engagements and improve client collaboration and the overall client experience. Today's slide deck, the PDF, will be available in the Event Resources tab on the left side of your screen. Okay, today I'm joined by Andrew Hatfield and Mike Kuffel. Andrew is the co-founder and chief growth officer at SafeSend, where he leads revenue growth, strategic partnerships, and defining SafeSend's long-term priorities and agenda. Mike Kuffel is an EA with an MBA and is a SafeSend senior product enthusiast with 20 years experience. And now we're ready to begin. Andrew?
Thanks so much, Isaac. Good to see you again. Thank you again for your organization providing the platform here for not only CPE, but for the kind of content that we're going to go through today and allowing us to be a part of it. Today, we're going to go through some content that's focused around the front end of your tax process, and I'll get into that a little bit further as we go forward. You're going to hear me refer to the front end of the tax process as get tax ready, because to me, there's a lot of things that you have to do to get ready to go to the middle step, which is preparation, and then the completion of the return and out to the client, and ultimately the e-filing. AI is going to be a game changer in general, just for society at large. Our discussion today is going to really focus on how AI is going to affect tax and accounting, and specifically to help solve the gathering frustration. And we'll define that problem today and how AI is going to be applied to vendors like SafeSend and many others in the market that are going to help facilitate a better process on the front end, gathering source documents in particular. And so we'll dive into that. As Isaac mentioned today, I am joined by Mike Kuffel. He's an EA and an MBA. So Mike will be here to show some software that goes along with the content today. He'll show engagement letter process. We'll talk a little bit about how we think engagement letters are going to evolve to become a little smarter and a little less large in size of content and a little less intimidating to your clients. And then he's going to also show an e-sign, how that fits into the engagement letter process. He's going to talk about organizers and how you can actually send out organizers out to your clients, smarter, smaller organizers fillable PDF organizers, etc. And then he's going to show you document request lists and gathering today as well. And he'll walk through a tax return process as well today. And so I'm Andrew Hadfield. I'm a co-founder and chief growth officer, as Isaac had mentioned, for SafeSend. We formed SafeSend, founded it in 2008, which is an interesting time period to start a business. And we just celebrated our 15th anniversary, October of this year, 2023. There are a couple of announcements that I just want to put in here. We're going to be very brief. There are some SafeSend clients here in the webcast today. And a couple of things that they'll be happy about is that SafeSend, from the tax return process side of it, now supports 990s. And we're also happy to announce as a company that we just finalized a relationship with CCH, and we are now in their access platform and are an integration partner. We're also have that same relationship with Thomson Reuters for the last 4 years, but we brought CCH on as a partner just recently this year. If you're at their conference this year, you probably heard that announcement. Okay, so today's agenda, we're just going to do a little brief, tiny conversation about SafeSend, just to kind of level set why we have something to say in the AI gathering space and why we may be a good group to listen to as far as what's coming in the future and how that's going to affect tax and accounting and the tax process. Want to put out there that everybody on this call, if you're still, creating an organizer and sending those out to the clients, really need to rethink how we're doing that, get smarter at it. You need vendors in the industry like SafeSend and others to create smarter organizers, smaller organizers, and more automated process around it. So I'll just kind of give you a glimpse of how we're thinking about solving that problem. And then gathering, this is really just getting the source documents from the clients that you need, but doing that in a non-frustrating way for the client and for the firm, easing that manual labor pain that you have to go through inside your firm to match up what the client's given you to what you've requested, and kind of physically and visually do that through a manual process. We'll talk about how AI is going to really help you out there. And then AI is part of the solution in general. When we talk specifically about tax and accounting, you're going to see AI in the front end, that tax ready, that gathering section, but you're also going to see it heavily applied to the middle section in preparation. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we're going to show you some of the technology now that we've created, but also is following suit from other vendors on the front end to kind of help solve engagement letters, e-sign on engagement letters and 7216s, fillable PDF organizers or smarter organizers, and gathering of source documents in a more meaningful way. And we'll talk a little bit about the roadmap of where that's going. And then along the way, we want to leave it open for Q&A. So there is the ability to chat questions here, and we just ask that you send questions in as they come up. If there's anything you want to ask, we'll be answering those live. We have another SafeSend specialist here, Stephen Lyon, who's going to be answering those questions as they come in. We'll also try to monitor that and take some of those questions, and I'll bring them out to the audience here live so that everybody can get those answers and see what other firms are asking. So let's kind of get into the subject matter today. So what we're really talking about, and over the past, it's really more than the past decade even, vendors like SafeSend, whether those are tax vendors out there or other vendor logos, they've really worked very hard to try to bring from paper to digital this tax process, and then the focus really fell into automation because of the labor issues and problems that our market has and still has had for the last decade or so, and still has today in a major way. You have to do more with less. There's plenty of work out there. There's just not enough labor and resources. And you kind of hear that as a running theme in a lot of the formats where somebody like us is talking to the industry. You guys know there's not enough people and talent there for all the work that's out there. And so you have to do more with less, and that really becomes automation. And when we talk about automation, it is for today's consumption really here in the tax department inside of your tax process. And we see it as three components. There's the upfront gather process. That's the data collection where you have to get the information from your clients so that you can start to prepare the return. So When we say tax ready or gather, we're talking about things like engagement letters. E-sign also applies on the front end. We think about it on the back end with the 8879s, but also it's the 7216s, it's e-signing of engagement letters. We're talking about getting the organizers out to the clients and how we do that in a more electronic and less frustrating and lighter way. And then there's, of course, the source document gathering and the data gathering that you need as well. In a perfect world, you'd have a foundation to be able to do all of these things on the front end that we just spoke about in a way that eliminates a lot of the labor for the firm. And we'll hit on some of those points today. It also makes this very simple and easy, and most importantly, easy and less frustrating for the client. And then we would take data that's gathered off of those client source documents, and we'd flow that into the middle section here where we go to preparation, and we'd hand off data from gathering over to companies that do OCR, Gruntworks and CCH Scan and SurePrep Scan product. And then, of course, they populate that into the tax applications for the tax vendors like Intuit and Walter Kluwer's, CCH, TR, and Drake. And then after that tax return has been compiled and it's ready to go, it kind of comes out of the backside over here and it gets into the back end process or the last mile, what we call delivery, assembly, delivery, and e-sign. This section on the back end is really where SafeSend has worked for the last 8 years in particular on a product called SafeSend Returns, where we went very narrow and very deep into the subject matter of solving back-end delivery for tax returns in particular. And I can tell you that when we got into this business 15 years ago, we built some products on the back end for secure file exchange, kind of like a SureFile or Elite File at the time. We have a flavor of that called SafeSend Exchange, and just for secure file transfer. And then we built an e-signature solution, not the first e-signature solution in the world, but the first one in tax and accounting that really focused on the workflow around tax and accounting documents such as tax returns. And so we were in this delivery side on the back end of getting information out from firms to clients and back, mostly around tax return packages, any document for e-sign, including 8879s and POAs, et cetera, and then just secure file transfer. But what we realized is to sort of do that, getting a transaction from a client to the firm and back with a document or an e-sign is pretty easy to accomplish. There's lots of products out there that do that. It's the devil in the details or the workflow, and it's like death by 1,000 workflows instead of paper cuts when you get into it. And you start running into all these workflow hurdles around the situations that happen within the content or the document types like tax returns and tax return package content. And so it took us really 8 years to get this in a position where we have a great solution. Now, the market is sort of turning around and looking at the front end on Gather. And the reason why Gather hasn't been solved, and this is the last thing I'll say on this slide, is because we didn't really have a good technology for recognizing the data inside of the documentation that's coming in from the clients to get the returns prepared. And AI, it's hard to say mature with AI because I know it's pretty new. But its maturity level is at a point now where they can really be applied on the front end to solve this problem and make an eloquent solution that's easy for your clients. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Just really quick, the SafeSend ecosystem here. We look at this as the ecosystem that we've built out over the last 15 years really encompasses a lot of things that touch the back and the front end of that last slide I showed you. But SafeSend clients get these various tools here, everything from electronic signatures. So, if your firm didn't want to use DocuSign or Adobe Sign or something like that, we have a competitive product that's very standardized for any type of document throughout all your departments. We also offer an engagement letter module where you can include e-sign on that as well. And then we offer electronic fillable organizers. So your organizer that comes out of your tax system, we can process into a fillable PDF and out to your client. You can add an engagement letter there, get it e-signed. We can grab documents that you need on the front end for the tax process, all the source documents you need through document request lists, et cetera. We have a platform that allows you to do secure exchange of documents. So if you're using ShareFile, for example, you could use SafeSend to do the same thing. And then we have a process around extensions, and then kind of the heart and soul of what we do is around SafeSend returns, which is tax return assembly, delivery, and e-signatures. And that kind of builds out our ecosystem here. And the one thing about this ecosystem is that it has, millions and millions of documents going through it. And one thing I can tell you is that the basis of a lot of what we do is around recognition and reading the content or data inside of documents. And that really becomes the core of being able to solve workflows, is understanding what's inside of these documents like tax returns, understanding the situations that go along with the various types of tax returns, or federal, state, local, or different situations that apply, and then being able to use intelligence to be able to understand how to solve those workflows. And AI is really just raising that level of intelligence from what we used to call data extraction through like optical character recognition, et cetera. AI is really giving us another level of the game here to be able to do that. And so that's why it's going to be so important to automating this tax process. So if we move into the next slide here, let's get into rethinking the organizer. So if I asked everybody here virtually to raise their hand who's sending out an organizer, a lot of you would say absolutely. And how many are sending out paper versus digital? And there's going to still be a lot of paper. We ask this question a lot, and we get a lot of hands that are still sending paper out to the clients. If firms are sending out digital organizers, a lot of times they're just sending a PDF of the organizer. And kind of the problem there is when you send a PDF of the organizer, your client gets it. So the delivery is a little easier and less costly and less manually intensive than paper. But what does your client do with the organizer if it's a PDF? If they can't interact with that document electronically, then they have to print it and fill it out and mail it back. So getting that organizer into a fillable PDF form so your client can fill it out without having to print it, that's like step one in moving the needle to being a better process. And then step two is really what I think we're going to see over the next X number of years, these organizers kind of turn into. And that's being able to really take these big, bulky, PDF files that we send out today, whether they're fillable or not. Even if you move to getting these into a fillable electronic form, you just have like big, heavy content, 85 plus pages. You've got all these questions you have to come up with. You've got information that you have to update, from Schedule C, E, and F to personal information and contributions. You've got to create these document request lists. We call them DRLs. What do I need from you, the client? I need your W-2s. I need your 1099s. And then you usually have an engagement letter in there, 7216 to sign. And so it creates a process where you're asking a client to do a lot and you need a lot back. But, most of these don't carry over grid information from prior years. Most of them don't self-create questions. They still send a whole lot of content, which I'm not even sure you need all those 85 pages in there. And so, what our concept is, and this is what we're going to have available to the market. And I think you're going to see this from other vendors as well. And I think you can even just think about this and how you manage your organizer yourself is through AI and through the ability to recognize data in a more meaningful way. You're going to be able to have these self-created questions. Yes, you can, have an ability to customize some, but through intelligence, we kind of know what questions need to be asked if you understand the data, just like you would. And then we'll be able to self-create these document request lists, and we'll understand, what's historically happened to apply it to the new organizer, and sort of combine all the engagement letters and e-signing of 7216s and things into this one package. But we believe we can get this down to 10 pages or less and just get to the heart and soul of what it is that you need from the client that's changed or needs to be updated, and keep the workload down from your firm to have to go through and really think about and create a lot of this content. And that's just where AI is going to be a game changer here from a manual process. And we're going to show you today an organizer. Mike Cuffle will walk through how we can take your organizer out of your tax program and turn that into a fillable PDF. And like I said, that's kind of step one. Our clients asked us in the pandemic to create that because staff was going home to work from home. They needed a way to get electronic organizers out, and they needed to be interactive where they didn't have to be printed. So that's been out for about 3 years. The next phase is just making this smarter, shrinking it down, and applying AI to get the level up on how smart they are. So if we look at the gathering problem as a whole, the first thing that I would want to do is turn back to Isaac here and see if we can go ahead and launch polling question number 1 and just get some feedback from the audience.
Okay, Andrew, we've come to that first polling question. Everybody that's watching in attendance, this is required for CPE. Does your firm feel like it has an easy and seamless electronic gathering process that your clients understand and complete? Your options are yes, no, and yes, but we're always looking to improve our processes. So it'll be interesting how this fills out. You can see the early results are not looking good, but let's give them a little bit more time. Got a little bit better, but so we're not quite ready to push it out yet. But right now, there's a lot of you that do not currently have confidence in having an easy and seamless gathering process. I think we're ready to push that out. You have any insights on that, Andrew?
I do. I mean, I know that we're all doing the gathering process, and we're getting returns done, and we have been. So we're getting the things we need, but the frustration level is just, it's always at a boiling point here. So I would say that most firms feel like they don't, but even higher, most firms, if they do feel like they have something, they're always looking to improve. But I would put myself in circle B on this as probably the best answer. All right. And then, do we have results on that, Isaac, or are we ready to go to the next slide?
I'm told that the results were pushed out to the audience, and okay. I think you're ready to go on to the next slide.
Perfect. And we had a question. I'm just going to go ahead and Diane asked, how is SACID different from Lisio? Diane, we're going to show some software here in a few minutes, and it's going to really give you going to give you an impactful way to think about the difference if you use that product today, or if you're thinking about using it. There's quite a bit of difference, and I think you'll see it when we go through visually, so you'll get a chance to look at that. We're going to go through these kind of quickly, and then we're going to get into showing some software today. But look, why are companies like SACID even looking at tackling the gathering problem? I mean, this is just by client request. I mean, clients are just telling us that in their own words, there's just multiple pain points here around gathering, and they're just wanting something to be done to make this easier. And when you see some of the advancements, like on the back end of delivery or in the preparation steps for the tax workflow, firms start asking, well, why isn't there something better for one of the biggest problems we have, and that's on the front end? And you'll get it. You also have access to this PDF PowerPoint. So I'm not going to read all these things, but we just have sheet after sheet after sheet of, firms like you, in their own words, just telling us that collecting data from clients is the hardest part of the tax prep process. They really want to have clear vision and understanding of the completion ratio on screen versus having to manually contact the clients. And I think the biggest thing that I hear is that clients and firms just need transparency of what they still need from a source document perspective and what they've actually delivered. When I deliver all of my source files, my brokerage statements and all that good stuff, W-2s and everything to my CPA, what happens is, we're still kind of going back and forth in an email with a list of the 10, 15 things that I need, and we're checking them off. And I go on extension, and then I come back around a few months later, and I can't remember what I delivered that my CPAs asked me for from a source document perspective, what's left to provide. And so it just gets murky. And there's a lot of back and forth that's unnecessary if we have AI recognizing the documents that I send in and then manually matching them up to the request list from the firm. And then, technology given some reporting here and transparency that says, look, this client's 80% complete, this client's 50% complete. And something's got to remind me that I still have things to deliver to the firm and what they are, and have some transparency there. And so, remember, Gather's for all your scenarios here. So it's for your individual clients, your entities and trusts, and even over on the audit side. And so gathering is kind of a problem that affects, individual entity trust returns and even audits as well. I'm not going to go through this whole slide, but this is a really good slide if you take it internally in your firm and you're looking at what problem needs to be solved. So what's the problem with gathering today? Well, maybe you have a low completion ratio. You're not getting all the things you need in a timely manner. And then here on the right side, it lays out the objectives. And you can just go right down this list and see that the problem can be a number of different items, but this was compiled from asking our clients and giving surveys out to the market. And so the problem here is really defined on the left side, and then the objective is on the right side. I just put this in there because I think if you're looking to solve this problem, this is a useful slide for your firm to have as an educational piece or something to start the conversation around. And then this leads us into our second polling question. So Isaac, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Once again, everybody, this is your second CPE polling question. How does your firm request source documents from clients? You've got options for paper requesting, email requests, secure file transfer DRLs, more sophisticated technology like SurePrep, SafeSend, and tax vendors, or a mix of the above. And while we're waiting for those results, I did want to mention again that the slide deck has a lot of information on it that Andrew's not getting into all the nooks and crannies. It is available for you to download in the resources tab on your console. If you're having any difficulty downloading it, it may be a security setting on your computer. So, Andrew, we are ready for the results to be pushed to the audience. Looks like you've got a healthy mix.
And that's to be expected, because we're sort of using all of these things to try to accomplish the task. So it wouldn't surprise me if for most firms, there are some paper requests going out. Depends on the client, the type of client. And then also just if you looked at each client, you'd probably have a mix on these as well. So even for pick any client out of the Rolodex there, and you've got probably getting a paper request at some point for something. There's still, by far and large, the biggest way to get documentation to the firm from the gathering perspective from the client is by email request. I'm sure that is still the biggest segment in the market. And then, of course, we have secure file transfer solutions out there. You've got portals and share files and SafeSend Exchange and all these things that go back and forth. And then we're seeing that there's a percentage of firms, I would guess not all of them, but a percentage on here have adopted something that's a little more sophisticated. But we have, as vendors, we haven't eliminated the need to still have some of these other requests through email. And so the mix of above is usually what we see here. And, our job is to try to help standardize this process so that mix of above is more standardization than it is disparate ways to do it. And then, Isaac, I think, as we get into the next content, I think we might as well ask the third polling question and see how the audience is interacting with AI, if at all.
Okay, well, Andrew just asked the question, is your firm using any kind of AI within your tax process? Your options here are yes, no, you're still learning about AI, and not sure. And of course, it could be a combination of A and C, but but if you're using it in any way and still learning about it, go ahead and click A. And let's see how those results are coming out. AI has such the potential to help in the staff shortage among CPAs, to provide support for a lot of the, just the data collection tasks, especially.
It's going to be, somebody told me that when you think about how the internet, for all of us and kind of in our generation, it's how the internet changed how we work every day and just how we live every day, that AI is just going to be such a bigger change than the internet was, that it's hard to even fathom how different people are going to think about their daily tasks. I mean, you would never imagine working without the internet. Here we are on a on a webcast over the internet, and you'll never ever think about working without AI again at a certain point in time.
And we
Matt?
can go ahead and send the results out so the audience can see. We're looking at a lot of the firms are still learning about it, and a lot of them have not implemented it yet. But I think it's a healthy bet to say that they will be using it in some format, even if they can't understand it yet.
Yep. I agree with that, Isaac, and I think I think one of the things that we hear all the time is people are trying to understand AI as a part. How's it going to affect my life as a person in general, my social life, my interaction with my family, my business, all of these things. And it's really, really new from understanding how it's going to affect everybody. And there's dozens and dozens of webcasts out there hitting on different pieces and how it's going to impact different parts of everyone's life. What I would say, if you just try to simplify it for our conversation today, is that over the past 10 years, there have been technologies that have gotten better at reading documents. So just think about reading a document, just reading a tax return or reading a W-2 or reading a 1099 or a brokerage statement. And really, one of the technologies that we probably have heard before is OCR, optical character recognition. And what that really means is that it's able to extract data. So it reads a document, call it a tax return, and it says, okay, this is the data that we're looking for, and I know where to find it on the page, and I know how to extract it, and then I know what to go do with it to be part of a solution. But it's only can consume so much, and it's kind of not as dynamic as what AI is going to be. And what AI is going to allow us to do is to really, really accurately do that job and be smarter in how the technology is thinking about what it's reading and what it needs to do with it. And so here's my point. When we think about gathering, think about just the matching up of source documents as you pull the stuff into your firm from your client. We need the W-2s, we need the brokerage statements, we need the 1099s, we need receipts, whatever it is. As all that stuff comes in, AI technology is going to be able to be applied to read what those are and identified. So say, oh, this is a W-2, or this is a 1099, or this is a brokerage statement, or this, and then it's going to stop and be able to say, here's what we need from these documents, the data that we need to pull out that's meaningful in this workflow. And instead of somebody in your firm putting human eyes and going, this is a W-2, and then I'm going to check off that that's part of our document request list that we've got, it'll just be able to recognize it automatically, go ahead and check that box off for you, and keep track of everything. So it just is going to remove a lot of that manual labor down there. But just giving you a pretty crystal clear example of how it's going to be accurate enough to be able to do that job in a way that has not been able to be accomplished before. Okay, so now we'll stop talking about all this and we'll actually show you some software. I'm going to turn it over to Mike Cuffle, and Mike is going to come in and lead us through a demonstration. And I think the process you're going to work through today, Mike, is basically showing you how an engagement letter can be set up for e-sign, how your client can interact with that, but it can be sent along with a fillable PDF form organizer with custom questions, and then also some of the gathering perspective of how we can pull documents in and how that works within the document request list. So, Mike, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you and let you show the audience some software today. And you might be on, you're switching your screen, and make sure we can hear you, Mike. Can't hear you, Mike.
All right, attendees, just stand by a little bit. We'll get Mike's audio working soon.
Yeah. Yeah, so Mike's working on his audio issue here. We'll give him a couple of minutes to get that dialed in. We can see your screen, Mike. So we've got that part up. You probably need to toggle your microphone. This platform sometimes it switches on the wrong microphone. So we'll give you a second to try to do that.
Andrew, would it be possible for you to go through the slides that Mike is bringing up?
I think that's going to be our next option here. Okay, so Mike, we'll give you a couple more seconds to try to do that, but otherwise I can just, walk over the process here with the audience. So let's just start there. While you're working on the issue, let's go ahead and just walk through it. So I'll kind of guide you here, and I'll walk through. Look, we can overcome the audio issue. So what the page that Mike has here is safesendreturns.com, and basically what happens is, as a client of SafeSend, you can come out to this screen, and you're going to see that this is the perspective of what your client will be able to see. So we have SafeSend returns, we have SafeSend signatures, SafeSend extensions, SafeSend organizers, and SafeSend exchange. I think what we're going to do today is go in and take a look at the process that is going to start off with sending out an engagement letter, asking a client to interact with that engagement letter and be able to have an electronic signature, and then walk you through an organizer and uploading of documents. So here on this screen, what we're going to show you is your internal firm perspective. And what Mike's going to do is he's just going to upload an engagement letter here for an electronic signature. And so as he goes through this, he's just going to find his engagement letter. And this is an engagement letter that's created by your firm. He's just going to attach it here. It's going to upload. And with SafeSend, what you can do is you can take your kind of static Word document engagement letter. You don't have to show this, Mike, but I'm just going to talk about it. And you can interact with the engagement letters in a way that you can create them in a manner that has drop-down boxes to ask different questions, or radio buttons, or fillable areas for your client. And then SafeSend will also automatically apply a request in a box for an e-signature. And so you can actually send out hundreds or thousands of engagement letters in a big batch. So we kind of automate the process of taking your engagement letter, getting it fillable by your client, adding e-sign boxes, and then allowing you to batch process these as well. So all Mike did is he uploaded an engagement letter template here to the software. He basically has a message here that's going to go out to the client, and this is what it's going to look like. So this is the engagement letter here on screen. You can set these up on a one-off, where you can have these kind of preset up. But if you look on the right-hand side, Mike can drop the signature boxes or places that he wants the client to initial different items, or print their name, or add titles, or add their company they're with. And so you can have this preset, or you can go through and do this, on the fly. So he's just going to go ahead and hit next, and he's going to, go out to the next step here, which is really just review. So now you just kind of look at this and go, okay, we're sending this engagement letter, everything's set up the right way, and he can hit submit, and that's going to send it out to the client. And we're doing a one-off here in kind of the manual process, but this could be automated, and we could be sending out hundreds of these in batches at one time. So your client's going to receive an email with a link, and it's going to let them know that they have an engagement letter that's ready to sign. So it's going to come in as an email from your firm. The client's going to you can control the messaging here and the logo. And Mike's going to go ahead and click on the link. And once Mike clicks on the link, it's going to take them into a screen where they're going to be able to see that engagement letter. And they have a lot of options. So there's a lot of use cases here. So they can decline to sign it. They could delegate it to somebody else to sign. If they're not the right person, they can forward it on to somebody else who is the right person. Or they can go ahead and sign, which is what we'll do here. Mike's just going to click start. That arrow on the upper left-hand side, he can draw a signature, he can type in his name, and then he can just apply that signature to the document. And there's your signed engagement letter. Go ahead and click finish. And the great thing is that this all comes with tracking and reporting. So, Mike has a report that would show every client that got sent an engagement letter through our system, and it would tell us if it's been delivered or not delivered. It's going to tell us if it's been downloaded by the client or not downloaded. It's going to tell us that it'll actually send out requests. So for those that are still out for signature, it can send requests out that are asking the client to sign it. So, if a client says, hey, I didn't get my engagement letter, you can actually look in this report and say, yeah, I can see you did on this time and date. You opened it, but you didn't sign it, or, we asked you to sign it. And so this is just full reporting. It's all transparency here. And this works the same way, whether it's 8879s or organizers or whatever, you have all these reports. Okay, so let's go ahead, Mike, and let's look at the process of how we would interact with an engagement letter organizer and documents for upload. All right, so next Mike's going to go in here and he's going to show us the organizer process. So this is the same organizer that comes out of your tax software system, right? So you just take that organizer and it just gets uploaded to SafeSend, and then we automatically turn it into a fillable PDF. So no interaction from your side other than to just, upload the organizer or a batch of organizers, and we'll just automatically turn them into fillable forms. And you can see here that Mike in this process has the engagement letter as part of it. He's got the organizer as part of it. He can set up, add additional documents for signature if he needed to. So like if we had, anything else you want, 7216, for example, we could put it in here for e-sign as well. He's going to go ahead and do that now. Just kind of show you the process of where you would drag and drop additional documents right there. So add engagement letter, add 7216, add whatever you want signed. So we've got your organizer, came out of your tax software. We'll take care of turning it into a fillable form. Got your engagement letter if you want to add it. We've got additional e-sign docs if you want to add it. You can create custom questions as well. So if you needed to create some additional questions or have a questionnaire here, it's really, really simple to do. Really, really simple process. And then you're finished. You're going to click finish here at the end, and this whole thing's going to get sent out to your client. And so the concept here is that they're getting everything in one shot. So Mike's going to go to your client's inbox. They're going to see that they've got an action required to complete their organizer. Again, they're going to see your logo. This email is pretty simple to understand. You can customize them. You hit let's get started, and it's going to take your client into the process. The key with clients is that you have a very simple hand-holding process. So, like when they come into your office and you walk them through everything, or they got the paper, packet, and they kind of walks them through everything with the sticky note, sign here, do this, do that. We want it to feel very similar. So here we have something that looks very much like the paper version, kind of helps clients understand what to do, and they click get started, and it's going to take them into the process. Now, we have a couple options. Mike's going to do an access code here that comes by email. You can also have an access code that comes by text message. And so we have to have some security around this private information, but we're not going to use passwords or logins that clients can't remember. We're going to send them an access code to email or an access code by text. Mike's going to put in the access code, and that's going to allow him to continue on to the next step. And the next step is going to be the client could see the message from the firm here. So, whatever your firm wants to say to the client. And then they're going to be able to sign documents, which is going to be the first step in this process. And remember, you can determine what documents need to be signed. In this example, it's going to be an engagement letter. So Mike's going to go ahead and sign that engagement letter. Really, really simple. Everything's being tracked and reported back to your reporting as the client goes through and completes the steps. And then it could also be the 7216 in here. It could be other items that need to be signed. But in this example, he's done with the signing of the engagement letter. Now he can go through the custom questionnaire as his next step, so that we're start to get the information that the client needs to provide to the firm. So, yes, they're opting into digital. Did their marital status change? Did they add any children this year? Et cetera, et cetera. And so we can have a standard set of questions, but you can also customize this list as well across the board for each client. And then we just go on to the next step here after they're done with the questionnaire. It has tracking in the top right-hand corner that was telling us, we're 50% complete, 60% complete. And now we can go in and complete the organizer. So that's the third step here in this example, in this process. They can click on anything on the left-hand side and see different components of the organizer. And let's say that there's something that they need to upload. If you see in the top right-hand corner, it says provide source documents. So if Mike clicks on that green button in the top right-hand corner, click here to upload, he's going to be able to upload various source documents that can be requested through this process. And then in the right-hand corner, he can add notes to the tax preparer. So if he wants to say something on each page here or in the process of what he's uploaded, he can do that as well. And then he can continue. He could save and continue later, or he can keep moving through the process and go to finish. Now he's going to get here to the finish process. And he now has a chance to download the organizer. So if he wants to go ahead and download that, as some clients will want to do, he can. And then he can even go through the last step and go to the upload documents area where he can actually upload anything that he needs to upload here for source files. And as we talked about AI, where AI would really come in here is as he uploads things, AI would be able to, on the back end, read these documents, understand what they are. Mike wouldn't have to necessarily tell the system that this is, X, Y, and Z document. It would just read it, and it would start to match it up to the request list, and it would start to know what the client has uploaded or hasn't uploaded, and start to remind the client to, get the things that they need that haven't been provided. So let's go ahead and click down here. We can click Save and Notify Tax Professionals. So now inside your firm, you're getting a notification that this has all happened and things have been uploaded. And so that's the alert inside the firm that they're getting through the reporting system to let them know that things are complete or things have been uploaded and added, etc. All right. And then, Mike, let's do one more thing. We've got about 13 minutes here and we need to leave some time at the end. We have one last question, but I wanted to just very, very quickly go through if you have it set up for a taxpayer, a client of a firm's experience with a tax return. Just want to show that process really quickly. So if you are in your firm, when you send out tax returns to your clients, this can take anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes, depending on the type of return and the complexity. With Safes and Returns, what you do is you basically, from your tax application, you just print the return or pull the return over from that program. We have integrations to CCH and Thomson Reuters and other tax platforms out there. But you pull the return after it's been finalized. So in this example, we're going to pull a 1040. Go ahead and open it up real quick, Mike. And so what happens is what might take your firm 5 minutes to 30 minutes to kind of get all this put together. Safes and Returns, we're doing it, very, very quickly in just, a couple minutes or less. We're going to read, and this goes back to what I was saying about reading documentation. We're going to be able to read that tax return. We're going to be able to understand who the client is, whether it's a 1040, a 1041, 1065, et cetera. We're going to extract data that we need to get this thing assembled and ready to go out the door. So if you look at the top of the screen, it's grouped the tax return PDF that came out of your tax software system into transmittals, tax returns, e-file, paper filed returns, additional documents that may need to be signed like FBARs or POAs, vouchers, estimated payments, invoices, so your tax prep fee, and then attachments like you could send back all the source documents in a PDF. It does this automatically. It already knows what needs to be signed, who needs to sign it. Anything you can think about in this process for the most part is just automated. And then Mike's going to hit finish down here. It's all been collated and assembled, right? So it's all broken out. Mike's going to hit finish and it's going to deliver this to the client. You could send it to review. Somebody else could look at it. You can approve it for delivery and you send it out. So you basically just take that tax return package that comes out of your tax software. It prints into SafeSend and boom, it reads everything, sets it all up. So it takes out a ton of manual process here. And then so we're going to send it out and Mike's going to go over to the taxpayer side And we're going to walk through this really quickly. I just want to show you how easy it is for your client to go through this process. They get an email that says, please review your tax return and sign your e-file forms. They click get started. Once they get into the process here, same drill. They're gonna need to go ahead and get an access code through email or through text. They put in the last four of their social, and then that's going to walk them through the process. So Mike's going to get another access code by email request. Again, this could be through text. And once he puts in that access code, they're going to get into the tax return package to go through the process. But keep in mind, they're not having to do a login or a password like with a portal or other systems, which is just like a big barrier to clients being able to complete the process. Okay, so this is the first thing they see on the left-hand side. They see the tax return data for 22 and 23 in this example for the estimated payments. It's basically, here's what you're getting back. Here's your over-applied payments. Here's your payments due. So this usually sparks, if a client looks here and they don't like what these numbers are, this sparks the first question. So I just want to show this to them up front. The steps are laid out really plainly what they have to do. They're going to click and go through the review of documents process, and then they're going to sign their documents like their 8879s, and then they're going to be able to make payments. So here's the message from the firm to the client. We go to the next continue button. You can see there's an easy process panel on the very top that kind of shows the progress. Here, the client can go through the return package. They can also send this return package over to somebody else, so they can forward it off to somebody else. They can forward just the tax returns to a bank. They can forward the whole thing. They can put in any email address. It's all going to be secured when it transfers over, but they can pick and choose who needs to get this information and which parts of the return. So then we're going to go to the next step and hit continue, and we're going to move into the signature process. So you've been able to review the return. You've been able to get messaging from the firm. You've been able to forward parts of the return off or the whole thing. Now you can go in and sign. Now you can manually sign, or you can delegate somebody else to sign. So if I'm not the right person, I can delegate it. Or I can do a manual sign if it's a paper filed return, for example. Let's go ahead and hit sign right here. We're just going to go ahead and go through the signing process. So we're going to go through this really quickly. This is a 1040. So you do have to have some questions that the client or taxpayer is going to answer because it's required by the IRS. We have a very, very high completion ratio here. I feel like we've really dialed this in so it's not as frustrating as, these systems can be frustrating where you can't get these questions right. This is in compliance, but we sort of eliminated a lot of the stuff that causes the hiccups. So let's go ahead and hit continue here. Now we're going to go through the signing process. We've got, federal 8879. We've got an Alabama and a Georgia in here that needs to get signed. And we're going to go ahead and go through this process and get this completed. If it's a manual filed return, if you live in a place where you're doing, local returns like in Ohio or Pennsylvania, we've got a process here that'll break those out in a secondary step and get that completed as well. Really, really simple workflow for taxpayer and spouse signing as well. A lot of messaging in here letting the spouse know that they're going to need to sign and making sure that we get that email information correctly. Okay, last step here is that we're going to present payments. So these are the estimated payments throughout the year. They can be in here, and this is just letting the client know that they have things to pay. They can click on any of the pay buttons here, here for the federal or for Alabama, and it's going to actually just take them right out online so that they can make that payment to the federal or the state entity. So it takes them right to the correct website and allows them to make the payments right there. They can also print it out, and we give them instructions on how to do a mail-in as well. But this is really handy and easy to get through the payment section. You can also add your tax prep fee invoice in here, and we can have the client pay up front before they see before they can download the return, or we can have it on the back end where they can make payments on the back end as well. So this is the last screen we're going to leave you on here. This is basically just the final summary. Clients can come back in here anytime they want. They can look at prior year returns. They can make tax payments. They can download tax documents. They can forward components of the tax return on, like they're going through a refinance of their house or something. They can do that really easy. They can pay or view the tax preparation fees and make payments to the firm. They can view and download signed documents. Okay, so let's go back into the PowerPoint slide deck, Mike. We want to get one last polling question up to the audience. We're going to leave time for Isaac to wrap it up, and I'm going to take a quick peek at the chat questions and see if there's anything interesting in there that we need to take a look at as well.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. The last polling question, it's number 4. Are you interested in learning more about the SafeSend suite? Yes, no, you're not the right person, or you're just here for the CPE and you don't want any contact.
And while they're doing that, I'm going to answer a couple questions. Dennis, you asked, Rachel, you asked, we used SafeSend returns last year. We're looking forward to the second year efficiencies. Is the way to send out a pre-tax email communications to all people we sent returns out to the last year, like an email blast, but not really. Rachel, there is. And so what we'll do is we'll note your firm and we'll have client success get in touch so that they can give you some information on how to do that. I had another question here where they're asking if we're supporting CCH returns. Yes, you can now pull CCH tax returns on, let me be clear, on January 20th, through our integration, we'll release the ability through the SafeSend interface to pull returns directly from the CCH tax products if they're in the Access platform online. Had another question here. After they sign the return, can they still go back and forward a copy to the return to somebody else? The answer is yes, Sharon, so that's yes. So we go behind dumped AI, save some returns last year. So I was just going through here. I know that they're answering a few of these faster than I can get them out through the chat. What is the status of the new AI organizer? So we're going to release some new AI functionality prior to this busy season. So after January is what the roadmap indicates right now. We're going to release some deeper feature sets as a beta this upcoming year after tax season and allow our clients to sort of tell us what we need to continue to build into this product. But my assumption here is that for busy season, the next cycle around, you'll have a heavy set of features that are going to be dialed in from client interaction through the beta process. And you'll have a very functional product on the AI side to be able to use going into that next gathering next season. So cost to SafeSend, just go to safesend.com and you can request our pricing sheet. We're very transparent and upfront. If you use SafeSend returns and you decide to buy that and see value in it, then you get unlimited signatures, you get the organizers, you get the secure file transfer system, you get the extensions, you get the engagement letter module and everything else along with that. We've got 2 minutes here. Isaac, did you need some time to wrap up before we get off?
I do think so. I have a little bit of content I have to tell them.
Okay. Yep. Last question here. You cannot pull from Drake. We're not integrated into Drake software at this time. Intuit, yes. Pro Series, Lacert, Connect, all of those things are coming in our development path. You'll probably hear some news about that coming up, but we expect to support all of those. That'll probably be a next busy season type of timeline. And I'll turn it back to you, Isaac.
Okay. First, I want to say thank you, everybody. We are wrapping up the webcast. Once again, this was eligible for 1 credit of CPE. And let me go over a couple more things. First of all, if you have more questions about SafeSend, of course, visit their website. And if you wanted their slide deck, but you had any difficulty getting it, go ahead and email us at editors@cpapracticeadvisors.com. That's editors, plural, EDITORS, at cpapracticeadvisor.com. After the presentation ends, there will be a post-event survey. And I also want to note that if you had multiple people attending, watching from the same monitor, you can get CPE credit for everybody that needs it. Once again, email that email address, editors@cpapracticeadvisor.com, and let us know what their names and other information is. Your CPE credit certificate will be emailed to the email address. Seems like I've said the word email address so many times. Your certificate will be sent to the one that you use to register for this webcast. And I believe I've covered everything. And I think this is a really great topic, Andrew, and I hope to see you guys again. The continuing evolution of the tax prep process is just astounding. And you guys are making it so much more efficient.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for providing a platform to get this information out to the audience. Thanks, Mike Cuffle, for doing the software demo today, and Stephen Line for answering chat questions. Once we get done, Stephen, if you'd make sure that we get the information to answer all the questions that we didn't get answered offline, and some of the clients here that have asked a couple questions, let's make sure customer success gets that information. Thank you so much, Isaac. Always a pleasure to see you. Really appreciate you moderating today.
All right. Thanks again to SafeSend and our production crew. This webcast will now end.